Hey there, Red Devil Nation. Welcome back for another Alumni Spotlight. Today we have Annie O'Donnell here with us, class of 2011 women's basketball alum. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
So just to start, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you were born and raised, and your journey to Dickinson.
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Fairfield, Connecticut. Went to public high school, so graduated from Fairfield Ludlow High School, and then found my way to Dickinson, obviously shortly after that, and was graduated from Dickinson in class of 2011. I played basketball all 4 years while I was at Dickinson, and was a double major international business and management as well as Spanish.
About why you chose Dickinson, what attracted you to the campus and to the women's basketball program.
Yeah, of course. So in high school, I actually played three different sports. I played soccer, basketball, and lacrosse, and was equally passionate about all of them. So it was definitely challenging thinking about what I wanted in college, if I wanted to continue playing sports, and kind of what sport I wanted to continue playing. So basketball just always had a special place in my heart, and I was fortunate enough to have really good teammates growing up. So I finally decided that's kind of what I wanted to pursue, and was looking at a number of different, D3 liberal arts colleges. And when I stepped foot on Dickinson's campus, just immediately fell in love with it. It was one of those, like beautiful spring days, 70 degrees, where everyone's out on campus. So that was definitely really appealing. And I also knew about Dickinson had a pretty strong study abroad program, and really emphasized just global awareness. And so it was really helpful to learn about that. And I was actually fortunate enough to be able to study abroad in Malaga, which is, I know, pretty rare for student athletes. But luckily, I asked early about that to my coach, and we were able to make that happen.
A great thing that you got to be able to do. And it's such a unique thing here at Dickinson where coaches really encourage their student athletes to go abroad. Talk about that experience and how that maybe helped you in seeing different cultures and seeing different people and really getting to see a global perspective.
Studying abroad is just such a unique experience. And the advice that I always give to people when they ask me about my experience is that you'll never meet anyone that studied abroad and say that they regretted doing that, where alternatively, you will definitely meet people who didn't study abroad and say they wish they had. So I always encourage people to explore it and do it, even if it feels uncomfortable. Because I was a Spanish double major, I was really excited that Dickinson had a program in Spain. So I studied abroad in Malaga, which was an amazing experience. Dickinson does a really great job with their study abroad programs. They, a lot of them, not all, but some of them, you end up living with host families. In my case, my host mom had been part of the Dickinson program for maybe 10 years. So she was really ingrained with not only the college, but knew all about the program. So Dickinson definitely does a good job of, vetting every detail. They pick really unique cities that you wouldn't necessarily travel to, and they don't pick the major cities, which I thought was really nice and refreshing. So it was an amazing opportunity. I spent, every weekend traveling around the world, whether it was to Paris or went to Munich, London, Barcelona, Switzerland, plenty of different places. And it was definitely just an experience for me to only obviously see other cultures, but I also grew a lot, learning to travel on my own, and, being in a foreign place where I don't necessarily speak the dominant language.
You go to these places as a 19-year-old kid or 20-year-old kid, and you come back this different person. Talk about how those lessons have helped you even in your career now, and when you got back to campus, how they helped you maybe mature and see things a little differently than you might not have thought of when you were first here on campus.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it definitely just broadens your overall horizon and perspective of the world. Obviously, Dickinson and Carlisle is a pretty small community, which is a great thing, and one of the reasons why I picked going to a smaller school. But I think there are definitely advantages to being out there, seeing how other cities kind of thrive, and just seeing what people are like in different cultures. So it definitely helped just broaden my perspective on kind of how I see the world, which I thought was definitely beneficial.
Taking a turn away from that side of it to look at the athlete perspective, you were a 4-year athlete here. Tell us about your time as a student athlete on campus, the experiences that you got as a women's basketball player, and the lessons that you learned both on and off the court.
So it's definitely a lot of work. And, something I remember my coach saying, especially for when you think about D3, there aren't necessarily scholarships like there are at D1 and D2, which really bring people into the college, and it's kind of that forcing function for them to play sports. So for a lot of D3 athletes, they're there because they love the sport and they want to play. So I think that definitely always stuck with me. I think I was very lucky to have such a great group of women on the team with me, and still am very close with a lot of them today, and have become very good friends. And I think that is makes such a difference. Especially for basketball, it's a very, it's a small team, especially when you compare it to like a football or lacrosse team. It's a very close knit. So having people that, you get along with and just, gel with is really important. It was a lot of work, and there were definitely like sacrifices that come with playing a sport. Obviously, like on your social life, and making sure that you're in on Friday nights for Saturday games, and things like that. But at the end, it was definitely worth it. I think it definitely increased my overall like work ethic. It made me, a better team player. It definitely pushed my limits like mentally, in terms of like what I thought I could do like physically on the court, and just training and off seasons and stuff like that. And I think ultimately it really helped me, prepare me for the world after Dickinson.
And you mentioned that you have these relationships still. How did you guys cultivate those relationships as teammates and over time? And how did you continue to cultivate those long after, maybe you left, and some of your teammates obviously didn't because they were younger? How did you guys stay connected, and why did you feel it was important to stay connected to all of your teammates?
Yeah, I think it's like it's just such a unique experience that only people on your team have gone through. The highs and the lows, whether it's winning games or having like a really tough practice or conditioning, um, exercise. So I think just like having these shared experiences really creates a bond. I think I was lucky that when I joined the team as a freshman, it was already like a really great culture on the team of camaraderie and community. And we always did like team dinners together in the caf, and would like watch a movie on a Friday night, maybe before a game. And there was just a lot of like community already built in, which I think helped. And then as I got older on the team, we inherited those practices that we learned early on, and kind of like continued that tradition. So I think that was really helpful. And then, leaving Dickinson, because we spent so much time with them, it was really easy to want to just, keep in touch with people. And, I still have two very good friends that I stay in touch with outside of, after leaving Dickinson. And we had like a women's basketball team little like reunion in New York, and one weekend, which was really fun to get together. So.
Now, from the student side, you were an international business management major, you were double major with Spanish. How did Dickinson help you find your passion for those two majors? And how did they help you maybe then prepare for your career after Dickinson?
So I think coming in freshman year, I really had no idea what I wanted to major in. I ultimately picked business because it just seemed diverse, and I would be able to, study a bunch of different things, whether it was like economics or accounting or finance. And it was just like a good foundational knowledge to have. And I was fortunate if I enjoyed the classes. So just continued that trajectory. And then coming in high school, I took AP Spanish. So when I took like the placement test at Dickinson, I was already in like a like 200 plus level my freshman year. So that helped. I just was able to accrue more credits. And then with studying abroad in Spain, it just made sense because I was already taking Spanish classes to have that be a double major. I wish I could say that I still use my Spanish major in the real world, but sadly I don't. I would like to. But I think the business component of my major was definitely beneficial. When I was a senior, I definitely relied on the internal kind of like alumni network job database. At that time, it was called Dickinson Connect. I'm sure it's rebranded. I'm not sure what it's called now, but that's actually how I found my first job out of college. Is I reached out to a Dickinson alumni through that, and he helped prepare me for my interview that I had. It was probably like winter of my senior year. Interviewed in December, and actually got a job offer like shortly after that. So I can definitely thank, Dickinson and my connections and just the alumni network for my first job out of college, which, ultimately set me up for jobs after that.
And that's something that's pretty unique to Dickinson, is that alumni network. It's something that you always hear it talked about. I remember when I was a student here, the career center, the network, get to know people. And it's something we're continuing to push now. Why do you think that network is so crucial? And how do you think you also now as an alum are helping service these younger collegiate athletes and students as now that alum who can reach out and help?
I think just because it's such a small school and small community that when you hear of someone going to Dickinson, it really does like strike your attention. And you just, again, that you had those shared experiences. It's a lot different, I would imagine, than if you went to like Penn State or a much larger school, just because there were tens of thousands of people that went there. So it's not that uncommon, but because there's only like 2,600 people, that you get excited when someone's been there and they know of the school. So I think that, and because so many people had such a, positive experience at Dickinson, that they want to help out others. For me, I think because when I was a senior, and again, I reached out to an alumni and they ultimately helped me get my first job, I just wanted to make sure that, I was doing the same for other people that were in my position. And I always, people will message me on LinkedIn or email me or whatever form of communication, but I'll always say yes, just to chat through kind of, any type of questions, or if they want to hear about my experience, I make sure to take the time and speak with someone from Dickinson.
What have you been doing since graduation? Now you're at Facebook. You've worked your way up through the ranks. Talk about a little bit about your career journey and your career path.
So as I mentioned, my first job out of college, I got senior year, so was very fortunate for that. So I started working for a company called FactSet. They're a financial software company, so they provide data to larger financial institutions to do whatever kind of like analysis that they need to do. So I got that through a Dickinson grad our alumni that was working in Boston. I was based in New York, so I moved to New York right after graduating from Dickinson, and I've actually been there ever since, so about 9 years, which is pretty crazy. So I was at FactSet for just under 3 years. And then from there, I moved over to Twitter, working in ad sales. So I was brand new to the advertising and media world, but the common denominator was that I was working at a, financial software platform. And then when I moved over to Twitter, I was working within their financial services team. So working with brands in the financial services space, obviously in a much different capacity. So again, that first job, kind of just having that knowledge of the industry, set me up for success in my next job at Twitter. I spent 5 years at Twitter, always within ad sales, always within the financial services team, working in different roles. And then left just over a year and a half ago and moved over to Facebook, where I'm still doing advertising sales. So I'm a client partner now, working on the insurance team. So, specifically specializing in working with insurance brands on, what their advertising strategy is on Facebook and across our family of platforms.
And you said there were all these common denominators. And the one thing that Dickinson definitely teaches kids, and I remember always being told, is that what a liberal arts education can do for you, just the way it makes you think, the way it makes you kind of look at all areas. How do you think a liberal arts education has helped you in your career?
The fact that it helps you become very like well-rounded in terms of your education. So obviously, yes, I focused my studies on business and Spanish, but because we had those other requirements, it was really nice and refreshing that I was able to still, take classes in science, or I remember taking like a sociology class that I really enjoyed. So even though I didn't, specialize in any of those fields, I think just like having that ground knowledge has definitely still, helped me in ways that I didn't really imagine in the working world as well.
When you look back at your Dickinson experience, why are you proud to be an alum from Dickinson? And what are the things that have stuck with you the most, either memories or moments that you will always have because of the fact that you got to wear the red and be at this place?
Tough question. I mean, I think I just like I'm proud to be an alumni from Dickinson just because of like what Dickinson stands for. And there's a lot of things I feel like that they stand for, but just having like a positive impact on like the global community and things like that. So I'm definitely proud to be an alumni from there. I think also because of just, again, like the small knit community that comes out of there, and how everyone kind of like looks out for one another. And then in terms of like fondest memories, I think really just what it boils down to is, yes, like studying abroad was a fantastic experience. I'll always remember that. That obviously wasn't on Dickinson's campus, but I think just the friendships that I've cultivated during my time at Dickinson, and just that they're long lasting friendships, and a lot of people I met there will be friends for life.
When we finally can play sports again and we can get back on the basketball court, what is your expectation for Coach Hayes and this Dickinson women's basketball program?
Win it all, win the Centennial Conference and, NCAA tournament.
I love that answer.
Yeah.
Quick and to the point. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. We look forward to sharing your story with the Dickinson community and tell them a little bit about a great alum.
Great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And, we hope to see you back on campus soon as we can open up and start hosting people again.